Welcome back, you guys. In this PowerPoint, we are going to learn how to make dot plots to display data, and I think you'll find this pretty easy. A dot plot is a way to display data. It is a number line, so you'll see here 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, with dots spaced above the data values. So each dot here tells us how many people have that number of fish in their aquarium. So one student has 3 fish, one student has 7 fish, one student has 9 fish, 3 students have 6, and 3 students have 8 fish. In our first example, it says the dot plot below shows the number of siblings for each student in Darla's class. Use the plot to answer the questions below. So here we see our number line starts at 0, ends at 10. We want to know how many students are in Darla's class. Each of these dots represents a student. So if you count the dots, you will see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 dots. Therefore, we have 25 students in Darla's class. Using the same data, now they're asking us for the mode. Remember, you learned previously that mode is the number that appears most often. So we want to know which number of siblings appears more often than the rest. And this is easy to see in a dot plot because it's going to have the largest number of dots. And we can see that right here. One sibling has the most dots. There's 10 students. That is the mode. One sibling is the mode. So still using the same data, it asks how many students have either 0 siblings or 1 sibling. So we need to look at this end. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students with no siblings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 students with 1 sibling. So we combine those, we would say 15 students have either 1 sibling or no siblings at all. So this would be a slightly more challenging question. What percent of the students have 3 or more siblings? So first we need to make sure we know who is included in this data. We want all students who have 3 siblings or more. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students. So 5 students out of, there were a total of 25 students in the class. So we need to think about that in terms of a percent. So 5 out of 25, we would divide this. 5 divided by 25 gives us the decimal 2/10. And remember, to convert a decimal into a percent, we move the decimal twice. 1, 2. We would fill in with a magic 0 here, giving us 20%. 20% of the students have 3 or more siblings. This is included in your notes. So this needs to be filled out in your handout. It says, the dot plot below shows the number of books read by students in the last year. Use the plot to answer the questions below. How many students are included in the dot plot? Go ahead and pause this. See if you can answer this on your own. Pause it. So if you remember that each dot represents a different student in this case, count the dots, you will see we have 20 students. Question B, this is on that same handout. What is the mode of the number of books read by students? Again, pause this, answer it on your paper, see if you can solve it without my help. Did you get 6? 6 is the correct answer. Remember, mode is most often. The data that we see most is 6 books. It's got the higher amount of dots here. Again, you're working this out on your handout. How many students have read 10? Excuse me, I read that wrong. How many students have read more than 10 books? Pause this, see if you can solve it. Did you count 6? Or maybe you counted 7. If you said 7, you included the 10. You included the student here. But you have to be careful because it does say more than 10 books. So we would want anything beyond the 10. We want these 6, not including the 10. And D, what percent of students have read at least, be careful with this wording, at least 6 books? Pause this, see if you can solve it on your own first. So, at least 6 books, we need to count from 6 or more. If we start at the 6 and count all the dots, you will see that we have 14 students out of a total of 20. We would divide. 14 divided by 20 gives us 7/10. Remember, we have to move the decimal 2 times to the right, which means 70% of the students have read at least 6 books. Example number 2. Sydney asked 10 of her friends the number of states they have visited. These were their answers. So A wants us to make a dot plot using this data. Oops. Oh. We're going to start a number line with 0. Our largest number is 7, so you could go 0 to 7, or you could just add an extra one. Place a dot over each value. So I would start with a 3, put a dot over 3, then 0, 1, 4, 2, 0, 2, 1, 7, 2. Your dot plot should look like this. Now we're going to answer some questions on measures of center. What are the mean, median, and mode of the data? Remember, when we're finding mean, also known as average, we have to add up all of our values and divide by the amount of numbers that we have. So we have 10 numbers. When we add them up, we get 22. 22 divided by 10 is 2 and 2/10. So the mean is 2 and 2/10, or the average number of states is 2 and 2/10. Median, remember when you're finding median, median means middle, kind of like the median of the road that separates the two sides of traffic. You have to make sure your data is listed in order first, from least to greatest. When we put our data in order, it looks like this. Count off from both sides until you find the middle. We have 2 middle numbers here. So you've got 2 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here are 2 2s. Now, if your 2 middle numbers are the same, then your median is whatever that number is. You don't really have to add it up and divide by 2 because both of those numbers happen to be 2. Mode. Again, mode, the number that appears most often. If we're looking at this data, the number that appears the most is 2. Maggie asked 10 of her friends the number of concerts they have attended. The answers are shown in the list below. So you are going to do all of this on your handout. The first thing you want to do is make a dot plot using this data. So pause the video, make your number line, create your dot plot. Does your dot plot look like this? It should. Your number line starts at 0, goes up to 7. You're placing a dot over each number that you see. B, using the same data, what are the mean, median, and mode of the data. Pause this so that you can solve each of these. Mean, remember to find the mean, you add all your values and then divide. When you add all of these numbers, we get a total of 20. There are 10 values there. 20 divided by 10 is 2. So the average number of concerts is 2. Median, list your numbers in order from least to greatest. Count them out until you find the middle. We have two middle numbers, 1 and 2. We need to find the median of that. Some of you will look at this and say, well, halfway between 1 and 2 is 1.5, and you would be correct. Or you can add your two numbers, 1 plus 2 is 3, divide it by 2, and look where we are, 1.5. Finally, our mode, the number that appears most often, is 1. We've got more ones than anything else. If you need any extra practice on this, feel free to re-watch this video or send me a message on Etsy. Take care.